Do you ever feel limited by your thoughts, your emotions, or your past actions? Well, today on Boldly Driven Conversations with Bree, we're going to be talking about this and why we are not limited by these things and how gratitude comes to play in all of these things. So join me today. All right, so it's Thanksgiving week. We only have school 2 days this week. Today is the last day. It's Tuesday. It's the week of gratitude where, the whole United States, we have a whole day celebration for gratitude, which I think is amazing. So I want to talk about that today, but I want to take it from a different angle. I want to take it from the angle of how we so often limit ourselves by our own thoughts, by our own feelings, and our own actions. And some questions we can ask ourselves if we find ourselves in that cycle of feeling like we're limited by these things. I woke up at 1:45 today and could not get back to sleep. And this is what I was thinking about. I was thinking about how so often, even myself, I feel limited by my choices that I've made, the actions that I've taken, the thoughts that I have, and even my emotions. It feels limiting sometimes, but I'm not limited. It's just that feeling of being limited. I'm not actually limited by it, especially when I enact gratitude. That's why gratitude is so important. If you guys remember, I talk about doing a gratitude practice every morning. And it really is something that has helped me the last several years as I've gone through burnout, as I've going through this huge liminal space right now of some big transitions in my life. And it's been a radical thing that has been a huge blessing. Okay. So let's get into it. Let's just get right into it. So we are not our emotions. We are not our thoughts, and we are not the sum of our choices. We are so much more than that. So much more than that. I do have some notes today because I feel like I'm going to kind of go all over the place if I don't, because I'm so tired because I've been up since 1 a.m. Okay. So, our true self exists beyond our feelings, and beyond those emotions that we have, beyond the thoughts that we have about ourselves, about the world, about others. And our true nature can come out when we understand that we are more than those things. Our true self goes beyond our actions and our choices. True self goes beyond those thoughts that we have, those limiting beliefs about ourselves. And our true nature goes beyond those feelings that we have. So let's break it down as to why. So we are not our thoughts is the first statement. We are not our thoughts because our thoughts are constantly arising and they are constantly passing through. So we have a thought. I call the ticker tape. We have a thought and we think about it and then it goes. We have a thought and then it goes. We have a thought and then it goes. You know what? I don't know about you, but that meme of the woman's brain and how we have 765 tabs open is absolutely true. I have multiple ticker tapes going all the time about different aspects of my life and thoughts that I have. The thing about those thoughts is they are constantly arising and they are constantly passing through, and they are not a static representation of me, of who I am. They are not a static representation of my beliefs. They are not a static representation of my identity, of who I truly am as my most favorite and authentic self. So the other thing about our thoughts and why they are not who we are is with our thoughts, we have the ability to observe them and not identify with them. We have the ability to observe them and not cast judgment on those thoughts. We actually have that ability. Now, does it take practice? Absolutely. Does it take focus on being able to not do those things and a change in our behaviors? Absolutely. But the thing is that we have the ability to just observe those thoughts as they're going by in the ticker tape and not casting judgment on them and ourselves and everybody else based on our thoughts. We can just see them, be kind of like that bird's eye view of seeing them and just noticing them and not taking value from those thoughts. So some questions we can ask ourselves if we find ourselves identifying with our thoughts, if we find ourselves being plagued by thoughts. These are some helpful questions when we find ourselves in that space. These were questions that I was asking myself at 1:45 this morning as I had thoughts going on, lots and lots of thoughts that were very limiting to me. So the first question is what are the nature of my thoughts, and are they helpful or harmful? Identifying the nature of the thoughts and knowing, are these good thoughts? Are these lovely thoughts? Are these helpful thoughts? Are these positive thoughts? Are they going to hurt me or help me? That's the first question. Very, very helpful question to know whether or not we should even be allowing the thoughts to continue, in the sense of trying to shift our focus or not actively. Or if it's okay to have those thoughts, if these are thoughts that are good and helpful to us, then we can still think about them. But the fact of the matter is we are still, even if our thoughts are good or thoughts are bad, we are not those thoughts. They are just thoughts. The second question is can I detach from my thoughts without casting judgment on myself or others? Do I have that ability? Or do I need to gain some tools to be able to do that? Or sometimes it's just a choice of actively saying, I am not going to allow these thoughts to affect how I think about a person or feel about a person, etc. Sometimes it's just a choice. And then sometimes it's actively detaching from the thought because it's a harmful thought, meaning we have to shift our focus. Do I even have that ability? Or do I need to gain some tools through maybe some counseling or coaching? And then the third question is how are my thoughts currently shaping my reality? So this is where like those limiting thoughts can come in. Are my thoughts about myself, about my goals, about my dreams, about what I would like to have in life, what I would like to do in life, what I would like to accomplish in life? Are my thoughts that I'm having helpful, harmful? And how are they shaping my current reality? How am I allowing them to shape my life? How am I allowing them to affect me and those that I care about around me? Because I'm making choices from those thoughts. So those are 3 really great questions to ask ourselves when we find ourselves in that thought process and where the ticker tapes are going and we just can't get out of it. And so these are good questions to help divert us. So the second statement is we are not our emotions. You are not your emotions. Why can I say that? So our emotions are temporary. Feelings are temporary. They change. They are temporary states that fluctuate based on time, based on energy, based on safety, based on a lot of things, just a lot of things, other people's feelings. They're based on other information that we receive. Feelings are based on choices that are made. So feelings change. Emotions, along with our feelings, change. They fluctuate. And we experience emotions, but we can experience emotions, but we don't have to be controlled by our emotions. Just like our thoughts. We don't have to be controlled by our thoughts. We get to make choices. Now, do we make our choices based on our thoughts? Yes. Information that we have. Do we make choices based on our emotions? Sometimes we do. But the thing is that we don't have to. We don't have to. And our emotions are not a fixed part of our identity because they change, because they fluctuate. They're not a fixed part of who we are. I think as a woman, we understand this a lot easier because, there's a certain time of the month always where my emotions are very different from the rest of the month where I just am in myself. I'm a little more irritable. My thoughts might be a little bit darker. My feelings definitely are a little more sensitive, easily triggered. And it's because of hormones. Our hormones change throughout the month as women. And this fluctuates our emotions and our feelings about situations and people and all kinds of things. So if we can see that we are not fixed, our identity is not fixed on our emotions because our emotions are not fixed. Our emotions fluctuate. This can help us to make better decisions, not based on our emotions, and know that we are not the sum of those emotions, and putting our identity in those things that fluctuate and change quite a bit. So some questions we can ask ourselves if we find ourselves in a very emotional state and we find ourselves perhaps even making decisions out of these emotions because we're in this emotional state, negative emotional state, or even, a very joyful, happy, positive emotional state. Sometimes we will make decisions that maybe aren't wise as well. These are some questions we can ask ourselves about our emotions to get clear on them and know maybe a better direction or a better heading to take. So the first question is, what are the emotions that I'm feeling right now and what bodily sensations are going with them? And I add on the bodily sensations because understanding our emotions and being able to identify them, maybe when we are in a highly emotional state and we don't know what the emotion is, will help us in the future if we can then connect those same bodily sensations when we might find ourselves in the same state and we're at that place again of, I don't know how I'm feeling. I remember especially with negative emotions, I feel this way sometimes where like with grief, there were bodily sensations that go along with grief. And it's a little different for everyone. For me, it's this heaviness in my chest that like extends down into my stomach, into my belly. And it just is a hollowness. It's a heavy hollowness. For me, when I feel that feeling of that heavy hollowness from my chest down into the pit of my belly, I now associate that with grief. And so I'm just like, I don't know what I'm feeling. Like, it's just such a mixture of emotions. Now that bodily sensation helps me to be able to identify that emotion. And it also helps me to know I shouldn't be making any decisions right now, because this is not really a wise time for me to be making decisions when I'm feeling grief. Because it affects how we think and feel about things and decisions we're going to make. And can I respond to mine and others' emotions in awareness and compassion when people are having emotions or I am having emotions? Am I able to respond appropriately to others and to my own with awareness and compassion? Very important question. And then, do I know how my emotions are affecting my thoughts and actions? That kind of goes back with that first questions of, goes along with what am I thinking? What am I feeling? What are the sensations? Knowing these things is very helpful for us. Okay, so then the last point was, we are not the sum of our choices. We're not the sum of our choices. Our past does not define our future. The past choices we make does not define who we are going to be in the future. Does it mean we might have more hurdles or we might have other obstacles in the way because of our past choices? Yes. Does it mean that we might have less hurdles or less obstacles in the way because of our past choices to get to what we want and desire for our lives? Yes. But that past does not define if we are going to reach our goals or not. Who we are. It does not define us as a person. And the thing about our choices and our actions is that we have the power to make new choices. If we don't like our choices from the past, we have the power to make new ones. We don't have to be defined by those past choices. We are not bound by our past mistakes in limitations. We're not bound by those past limitations we may have put on ourselves. And conversely, we're not bound by our past successes either. You may have had success in the past, but you're not bound by that, because you're still making choices. You still have the power to choose every day, make new, different choices. So maybe where we were successful before, if we start making different choices, maybe we're not going to be as successful, or maybe our definition of success is different. So we're making different choices. So we're not bound by the past mistakes and our past choices. And here are some questions we can ask ourselves when we are making choices, and maybe where we're regretting some choices, or we're questioning our choices, or we're afraid to make choices. What choices am I currently making, and are they aligned with my values? It's a good question to ask when we're in a space of having to make choices, because we want to make choices that align with our values, which means we need to understand our values and our purpose in life. This is very helpful. I did talk about this last week. So we have to make sure that our choices are being aligned with our values. And what choices am I currently making? And how are my choices impacting me, my future, right now? And how are my choices going to impact those around me? How are they impacting those around me? Important questions. And can I be open and learn from my past choices for my future? Meaning the good choices we made, bad choices we made, just choices we've made that maybe didn't have a positive or negative outcome. Can we learn from that? Are we open to learning from that so that we can have the future we want? And so when we understand these three things, that we are not our emotions, we are not our thoughts, and we are not our choices, that is not our identity. This is what gives us the ability to actually explore our true nature. And this allows us to become more self-aware. It allows us to have the freedom that we all desire to have, and allows us to feel more fulfilled in our lives. But you're saying, okay, Brianna, I'm stuck. I'm stuck in this. I'm stuck in my thoughts. I'm stuck in my feelings. I'm stuck in the limitations of the choices that I made. I'm stuck. So what do I do? How do I get out of it? This is where gratitude comes in, my friend. This is where gratitude comes in. So because we are not all of those things, we are more than the sum of our choices. We are more than our emotions. We are more than our thoughts. And because of that, this is where gratitude comes in. Gratitude helps us understand and connect with the world around us. And it helps us connect with ourselves. And it helps us connect higher being, God, creator, the universe, something more than ourselves. It helps us connect through gratitude, is how we connect. Practically, gratitude helps us shift our focus. And we go from lack to recognizing all that we have, to being redirected, those thoughts, those emotions, and the choices that we need to make or have made, to what we already have, what is in our present moment, to what is in our right now, what we have right now. It gets us out of what we want and what we don't have, that lack, that scarcity mindset. It gets us out of but if I only had this, then life would be better. If I only had that, life would be better. It gets us out of that. It helps us shift our focus, and it helps us get out of that crazy cycle in the mind and in the heart and in the must make an action, must make a choice, and just allows us to appreciate our present moment. It's the second point. We get to appreciate our present moment when we're in gratitude. It helps us learn to be present, to detach from the past, to detach from our future, so that we can be, which can be the source of all of our stress and anxiousness, because we're thinking about all of our past choices and past mistakes and how we can't forgive ourselves. And we're thinking about our future and how we want this thing, but we can't have this thing yet. And I want that thing. And how do I get that thing? And how do I do that thing? And how do I attain that thing? And how do I be successful so that I can receive all the things I want? This gets us out of that. It gets us in the present moment of right now. What do I have right now? What am I doing right now? Where am I present right now? What's going on in my body right now? Where am I right now? It gets us in our present moments. And this helps us cultivate a more positive emotions in general, because this helps us when we are enacting gratitude, when we're being very thankful for things right now. Like, I'm very thankful I have heat because it's really cold today. I'm very thankful I have this warm sweater because it's really cold. I'm very thankful I have a job that provides a break for me for the rest of the week. I'm grateful I have a job to bring in a paycheck to be able to provide for myself, my kids. So these are things that we can be grateful for, and this are all positive things. It puts us in a more positive mindset. And this counteracts those feelings of anger, of resentment, not enoughness, worry, anxiety, sadness, disappointment, frustration, bitterness, envy. All of these negative emotions that we can have. It gets us out of that. And then when we get out of that mode, the gratitude will help strengthen our relationships. Because what happens when we're truly grateful, for people in our life, when we're truly grateful for our situations in life, we show appreciation for it consistently. We tell them through our words, through our actions, through our deeds. We show the value of who they are to us. And this helps strengthen our relationships. I'm kind of having a hard time with my kids right now, where I sometimes feel like they're lacking gratitude. They just have some entitlement. They have some expectations. And it's hurting me. And it makes me feel unappreciated, and it makes me feel less valuable. Now, I know those things aren't true, but that's how their actions sometimes make me feel. And so when my kids are in gratitude for what they have and their situation in life, and have gratitude for me as their mom, I feel valued and they show me appreciation. And so it strengthens our relationship. Whereas when I'm feeling the way I'm kind of right now, relationship kind of stinks in some little aspects. It's going to be fine. This is part of the growing process for all of them and myself. We'll get over it. We will get through it, and we'll get stronger. But it shows how gratitude, our personal gratitude for others in our situation, absolutely can help our relationships and strengthen them. And our relationship with ourselves, which is super important. We have gratitude for what we have overcome. We have gratitude for what we have done and accomplished in our own lives, and the choices that we've made that have been really hard. And you have gratitude for those things. For ourselves, this helps us value our own self more and know our own worth as well. And so that we don't take the scraps and breadcrumbs that others give us as validation for our value. This enhances our self-awareness, which is kind of what I've already been talking about, because when we have self-love, when we value ourselves, this also makes us understand our values more and what is valuable to us. And we make our choices based on our values than based on other people's values, or based on misunderstanding. So we make our decisions based on our own values and our own understanding of what's going on in the world and in the situation we may find ourselves in. I mean, this doesn't limit us then based on validation from other people, because when we have the self-awareness, we know our own value, and we don't have to rely on, again, those breadcrumbs and the validation from others. All of this to say that we can break free from the limitations that we put on ourselves or we find ourselves in regarding to our thoughts, our emotions, and our choices, decisions, because we can connect more deeply with ourselves when we're in gratitude. And by connecting more deeply with ourselves, we become more wise. We have more experiences, and we're able to make better decisions in every situation, so that we're not continually living in regret for our past thoughts and feelings. And we're not continually thinking about our future actions, thoughts, and feelings that we're going to have based on choices right now. And we can just truly live in the present moment. When we live in gratitude, when we actively are practicing gratitude and cultivating a life of gratitude, that means we are creating a life that is more fulfilling. We are creating a life that we want to live. We're creating a life that is impactful on ourselves and our future and all of those around us in a good, positive way. So as you sit at your tables this week for Thanksgiving, maybe make a commitment to yourself that you're not just going to be thankful on Thanksgiving or the week of Thanksgiving or the month of November for Thankful November. Great practice, right? But temporary. What if you made gratitude a permanent part of your life? What would happen? So your bold challenge today, I have a question for you about gratitude and in regards to your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions. And I think this is really the crux of it. It comes down to our identity and knowing our value, which comes from gratitude, right? We talked about that. So here's the question, the bold challenge question for you today is, who am I when I'm not thinking, when I'm not feeling, and I'm not taking action? Who am I? It's a really hard question. So the bold challenge is to ask yourself that question and then share it with someone. You can message me, tell me who you are. Who are you when you're not thinking, when you're not feeling, and you're not taking action? Who are you? I can't wait to hear from you. Have a lovely Thanksgiving and safe travels.